build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Monday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. It is going to be a busy show, football jam-packed. From the NFL to the college game to the high school from Friday night and looking ahead to next Friday. See what Jared was up to this weekend and also remembering back, 22 years ago, about right now, when this country changed dramatically on this morning. So, busy day, a lot to get to. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. 225-9698. Give us your thoughts on what you saw over the weekend or what you remember about this day all those 22 years ago. 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, stay in touch with the show a couple of ways. Log on to kadsam.com, or you can download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It has got the Penny News. It's got Big Elk and Paragon TV. And, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast. If you missed the show entirely, you can check us out there wherever you find other podcasts to listen to. How are you today, Jared?
I'm good. How are you doing?
How was your weekend? Probably a long one out at the old fields.
Yeah. We did the math. It was like 22-some hours at the field both Saturday and Sunday. But it was fun. Hot weekend, but kind of cooled off yesterday a little bit as the day went on. Got some cloud cover a little bit. No, it was a good weekend. How was yours? How's Saturday?
Saturday played golf.
Yeah.
Didn't play very well.
Oh well, I'm sorry to bring.
We had a lot of fun. No, we didn't win the golf. We might have won the beer drinking if there was a competition.
Well, you're always a winner there.
I mean,
there's no loser really.
After about 4 holes, I was playing so bad. I told Brett, I said, "Well, you know what? If you can't be good at golf, I guess we can be good at beer drinking." And we made a hand. No, we had a good time. Just it wasn't the best golfing. The commish of our fantasy league, or the one that you dropped out of and got ridiculed a couple weeks ago about, he was on the winning team.
Thanks for that. I hope he was on the winning team.
He was on the winning team.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he was on the losing.
I mean, usually commissioners get special treatment, so
he was on the losing team last night of his fantasy team. So was I. I hate fantasy football.
Who has Dallas's defense?
Drew does,
and he still lost.
Oh, by miles.
Wow.
Miles.
I don't know what the scoring format is in yours. A buddy of mine said he has Trey. Said, man, I got Dallas's D. They got me 40 points alone.
Let's see. Yeah, 35 here. I can see it.
35?
35 points.
Unreal.
Tyreek Hill was the guy you wanted yesterday.
Yeah.
44. Wyatt learned a hard lesson. He's playing fantasy football with a couple of his buddies from school.
Oh, that's fun.
He learned a hard lesson about you don't always make the right choices on who to play. He had Brandon Ayuk on his bench, who scored 33 in our league. A couple of touchdown catches for the 49ers. And that demolition of the Steelers. But honestly, it seemed to me like yesterday scoring was down. We'll get to the NFL here in just a little bit. But that's I watched some baseball. You know what? I watched some fun baseball.
You did?
Yeah, yesterday. It was good stuff. The OK Ballers. We've never been on a team like this. It's always either been Sayre or Elk City this time. But this team, it's a pretty cool idea. There's no practicing because everybody's from somewhere else, right? So it's not like one of those travel teams where you meet and practice and all that. Basically, it's everybody's from somewhere and just kind of get together on the weekend and play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just
get some reps in.
Show up and play a little bit. And there's Woodward, there's Moreland, there's Arapahoe, here, Canute, Mangum. Maybe leaving somewhere out. Alva.
Wow.
Yeah, this team has been they've played for a number of years, but it's the first time that Wyatt's been played with them.
Oh, okay.
Played against them.
I know it's like a situation where, hey, go find somebody to catch with, and you have to go introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Wyatt. Hi. Want to play catch?
A little bit like that. I think on maybe more so for the parents than the kids.
Yeah.
Because they all kind of, you know how that goes. They all kind of know each other, played against each other.
Yeah, and then in the way social media works, I'm sure there's I don't know how if you're letting Wyatt be on social media, but I've seen that there are more I don't know, in communication with each other from other towns. It feels like they're friends anyways.
I know.
Wasn't like that with us growing up.
No.
You only saw the people from the other town when you played against them.
Yeah, and hated your guts.
Well, yeah, there's that.
You're from where?
I can't. Yeah,
I can't even talk.
That
to you.
still lingers to this day. It's like you meet somebody. Where are you from? When did you graduate? Oh yeah, I played against you. Yeah.
Now they're all buddy. No, thank you. But it was a blast. It was a good brand of baseball out there for those boys.
Well, good.
Took home a ring. Notice y'all got 2 rings in your household.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Good stuff.
I'm proud of those girls. Both of them have to come through the losers bracket, and there's something about it. They've done that more than once. It's just like they like to play a lot of games in one day.
Yeah. How about you stop it?
Yeah, my feet would appreciate it. My goodness.
Win.
Standing out there. Oh, man.
Win, so we don't have to stay here all day.
No, it's good. They avenge some losses, and that's always fun. Not for the sake of revenge, just to see them bounce back mentally and you know what I mean. You can lose to a team, then see you have to play them again. Go, oh well, that was the team that beat us, and both teams, 10 and 8, you both responded well. Very proud of them. And it was a good tournament. Saw some teams that you don't normally see. That's what I like playing about these tournaments. They're not the same league teams
right,
you play all the time. You play some, and the whole idea for me in the fall is this is no disrespect to anybody that thinks otherwise, but it's a big practice season. It's to get ready for the spring and summer. So as many reps as we can get in and as many games we get in about a month's time, I think is very valuable. And it looks like tonight we might get rained out, so I'm kind of glad we got about 8 games in this week.
Yeah, good job, girls, by losing. That way we got more games in from the losers bracket.
More at-bats, more pitches.
May not be able to play tonight.
All of it, yeah.
Well done. Good thinking. Yeah, that's playing that's playing chess and not checkers right there.
Yeah. And talking with all the coaches this morning, we're all like, man, I really hope it rains tonight.
It is 9/11, and I know we do this every year, but just kind of go back those 22 years ago, and what was that day like for you? You're still in high school, weren't you?
Yeah, I was
Senior
in high school. Yeah, senior year. Yes. I was in band. Yes, I was a band. I think people say I can say this.
Can you call yourself a band nerd because you were in band?
People embrace people who are in band. They go, yeah, I was a band nerd. And we have practice in the morning, even before 8 a.m. You have to go and practice and rehearse or whatever. And we were out there. So, and this is before obviously smartphones, and barely anybody had a Nokia brick phone in their pocket at that time. So when all that was going down in New York City, we were clueless because we were outside practicing, and when we went in, it wasn't until we got in and go to second period, walking through the halls, and we noticed everybody was in the library, which is typically where all the school's big TV is, right, in the library. And I'm like, what is going on? I remember looking on the TV, and my first thought was, and I saw the smoke and the World Trade Center and everything, and I thought there was was everyone watching a documentary of was it 1993 attempted attack, or it was an attack at that time. A bomb detonated in the basement, I guess, and parking garage, and it didn't. And then I kind of pieced it together. I was like, well, back then that was like in the winter, and it was hazy gray sky and everything. That looks, it was blue sky, and then you saw up in the corner, which made my heart sink, it said live.
Yeah.
And I thought, that is real. And we all just kind of stopped. That day was weird because we went on as usual. We went to class and at every hour and all that. But you kept hearing all the rumors floating around, like, there's another plane hit, and the Pentagon. Now they're saying there's more planes out there that are taking over. They don't even know where they're at. And I mean, the rumors, and I mean, it was scary. It was even out in western Oklahoma. You didn't really know what was going on and what was coming next and everything. And then, just as soon as you got home, and I remember getting home and I'm calling my dad, calling my mom, like, just to hear them, like, you guys all right? You good? I mean, we okay? Are we all? And, you just want to hear your mom and dad at that time. And scary stuff, and day you'll never forget, and changed our lives. I mean, from that day on, I mean, everything changed. Almost everything, how we did it, obviously from air travel and all kinds of stuff. I mean, just there's pre 9/11 and post 9/11. It's a common phrase we always use. So it's a day that we'll always remember. I mean, it was our generation's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, in
a sense. So but that was my senior year, which a little selfish kind of mess. Like that's what everyone remembers about that. That was our senior year. What was the biggest thing that happened your senior year? 9/11. Not really fun to say, but it's a day. This is a day. I mean, I flew my flag, went out first thing this morning, put my flag up, and it's we call it Patriot Day over at Canute. Everyone's wearing red, white, and blue. So you never forget it. How about you? What were you doing?
Yeah, about to go to class at SWAS Tuesday morning. I think I had a 9:30 or 9, whatever it was, and I woke up. My roommate had an earlier class, but he wasn't. He was there. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And just didn't even say anything, just staring at the TV, right? So we looked. I started watching it, and it's just like, what is going on? Like it was chaos there at first.
Yeah.
But then, as it was then you actually saw the next one hit live. You know what I mean? And then it was fully apparent what was going on. Is in the early, when nobody really knew. Was this on? What happened?
Right.
And then you see the second one hit, and you go, "That's on purpose." Clearly, because in the very early stages of that, and it wasn't a ton of time in between, just enough to where you start seeing live pictures of it. Nobody really knows what's happening, and then bam, there it is again. Here comes, and you clearly know that there's a giant attack. Everybody's kind of got the same type of story in a way, as far as that more. And you mentioned air travel, because the thing that stuck with me more than anything else was, so that obviously September, January of 2022 or 2002, we go out to a couple of us college. We go out to the Bob Hope golf tournament in Palm Springs. Fly out there.
Yeah,
and that's even though it was a few months later, but that feeling of getting on and quite honestly looking around like, who could it be?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, just
yeah.
Who could be the one that it just made you more, I think, aware, at least at that time in my life it did. 21 and you do whatever, but that's the thing that stuck with me the most, was just the nervousness of something that seemed so normal.
Right.
And then it wasn't because of that. So
I remember the summer before all that happened, I had gone on an international trip with a group to Europe, and we switched to get to puddle hop over at the Atlantic. We switched to Newark, which is where I think one or all of them got on the plane, which was, and if you ever been to Newark, it's across, I guess it's the river or bay or whatever, and you could see the New York City skyline. And I thought that was the coolest thing, as close as I've ever been in New York City.
Right.
And I could see the New York skyline, the Twin Towers, all of it. I thought, that's cool, that's cool. And that was the summer before, just months before.
Right.
It was in June when I flew. So, I mean, and that was a little surreal for me when you start to hear, okay, they got the planes here, they're,
Right.
I was like, whoa.
And there's all kinds of different.
And that's a massive airport,
Yeah.
But still, it's surreal. And yeah, flying's just different, and and I completely understand why the why the security has changed and everything. And that, what you talked about, I don't remember when I flew after 9/11, but there is always that. But I have more sense of security because of the changes in how you board a plane. You know, you hear of air marshals and all that, and the locked cockpits and all that stuff. So,
well, that's what I was watching a program last night before the Dallas game started, and it was talking about, or actually it was at halftime. I flipped it over, and it was talking about there was literally a box next to the cockpit back then that anybody could access the key to open it up. It just if you knew it was there, and most people didn't have any idea it was there,
right?
But you would just open up the mailbox, and pick the key out, and and how those guys, the bad guys, had researched that and knew that, and that's because people think, how could you get in a cockpit like now? Well, they just opened up the box, took the key.
Right.
It was just crazy, but things have definitely changed
I tell
in
you
that regard for the better.
When we flew back from our vacation this last summer, I'd tell you about what James tried to do. We had the very front row in the plane, and they give you all the this is how you tighten your seatbelt, this is how you do this. The drink orders will come down. Here's your emergency exits, all that stuff, and they say if you need to use your restroom, the restrooms are here and here. Please don't form a line. So we're at that front seat, and James thought it was the coolest thing, sat in the very front seat of the plane. It was Southwest. We weren't flying first class, so put that away. And she was saying, Dad, I got to use the restroom. I got to pee. Okay. Well, guess what? There's the bathroom right there. So, but can you do it by yourself? You go, yeah, I can do it. Yeah. Because I can't stand there. I can't congregate.
Right.
I got to sit. Okay. Well, she gets up. First door she grabs the cockpit.
Like, no,
we're going to land in like Austin or something and have to deboard. Oh, I was like, no. And the flight attendants, they were good. They were good. Like, oh, let me help you, sweetie. You're right here. I'm like, oh, don't grab that door. Don't even touch it. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's surreal still to this day. I mean, on this year, the different programs that have come out now since then, and you start seeing more raw footage from that day, and it just it's always it's always a different day.
Yep,
there's no doubt about that.
Yep,
always is. Taking a look at the Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em leaderboard, I am not beating anybody. I am tied at the bottom for people that have picked all the games.
Right.
Looks like Embry Bees. Is that Brandon? It's almost got to be, doesn't it?
Has to be.
Tied with webtickets.com.
Man, I hope that's not some phishing site
I do
or
too.
Something. Nobody go to webtickets.com.
Yeah.
We're not promoting this.
So that's 14-6. That's pretty good picking. 7-3 each week. That's pretty solid. Dakota, a game back. Big Poppy. I didn't know that we were quite this famous. Had Big Poppy in the house. Denny, another game back. Bunch of people we know. Coach Green, Coach Ham, Slade, Drew, the cheating commish, according to some in our league.
Wow.
I mean, it was on the text line already. Just flat out, our commish is a cheater.
Wow.
Ouch. Ouchies. No, it's good stuff. There you are, 12-8. You're starting out much better than you did a year ago.
Yeah.
You kind of got yourself.
I'm not
behind
holding
the
my
eight ball.
breath, but I'm trying to get a good jump here.
Yeah, a bunch of 12-8s. Gosh, you got to go to the next page before you find the end of those. Anyhow, though, thanks everybody for playing. Keep on picking. And if you're like me, just keep on picking bad. You'll have a chance to win something too. Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em. People before property is the motto at Western Oklahoma Realty. Tyler, Robbie, all the gang down there. 225-6271 for all your real estate needs. All right, let's go back to Friday night, Jared. Over in Canadian, the Big Elks played 20 of the first half's 24 minutes pretty well. Trailed by 2 after the second catch Geno touchdown run of the first half. 14-12, 4.5 minutes, something like that. And then all of a sudden things just kind of the wheels fell off. As Canadian got a couple of touchdowns and then kicked a field goal there with no time on the first half clock. And next thing you know, what was a really highly competitive game almost even at that point felt out of reach with the way that the Canadian just exploded offensively for those 17 points in 4.5 minutes or whatever to make it 31-12 at half. The Elks started the third quarter, marched it, and took time, exactly what you'd want them to do, even though you're down 19. Take time off the clock, but just unable to get any points. And then, of course, Canadian comes right down and scores, and that's kind of the end of thinking about a comeback. It's pretty crazy to say, giving up 45, that you felt like the defense played decent, but I really thought they played pretty decent. They did the things that you have to do against that team. Got a couple of stops, forced a couple of turnovers, and at the end of the day, that's kind of all you can do, right? I mean, it's just you got. I think the part that was different this year than it was last year was when the Elks did create those stops, at the goal line twice a year ago. They were able to capitalize offensively, and not only capitalize, but also do it in a manner that was beneficial, meaning then march it, and not just, there was a couple of big plays, but then there was a lot of just, grind it out, take time off the clock drives, that ended up in points. And I think that was the difference the other night is, when a couple of long drives didn't end up in points, and quite frankly, you got to keep on scoring to stay with those guys.
Yeah, that's the thing. That offense, it's hard to slow down, and Elk City did the best that they could to slow them down and create opportunities with the turnovers and everything. But, man, it's hard to slow down a team like Canadian with that offense. Cavalier, quarterback, Flowers, what do we call him, an H-back?
Really just kind of a slot receiver right now.
He did a lot of the receiving more than anything Friday night. He was good. Those are two guys I expect to play at the next level, to be quite honest, at any level, whether that be Division II, JUCO, maybe find their way to D1. They just seemed ready for that. It's just a tough ask for the Big Oaks, but I liked how it started. They gave Canadian the biggest test that they've seen all season so far. And the way they were acting was like, all right, well, that might be the tough. I mean, they expect to win every game, obviously, but I had this sense that they were kind of leery about Elk City coming because of what happened last year, knowing this is a tough team, more numbers than Canadian. And I'm sure they had that one circled on the calendar for quite some time based on what happened last year. Nothing to hang their head about if you're Elk City, though. Putting up the points early like that, just a few mental errors there at the end of the second half or in the first half. Going into the locker room was costly. But, you play these games to see where you're at, to see what you can work on. We'll have another one this week in the same vein of a great opponent. You play them for a reason. And I keep telling myself this, and I say it out loud to hear it, get ready for district play. Because Clinton's going to be good, Weatherford's going to be good, and it's detrimental. I mean, it's a must. You cannot. We have to defend the district title. At the very least, get second place. We want to host a playoff game. We want to keep that tradition going. So, I love playing these games because of getting you ready for a tough district slate. So, I'm happy. I mean, I know I'm not happy with the outcome, but I'm happy with the fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. They're really good. I mean, that's a team that's going
to – you can't – it's hard to find fault when you're playing a team that good. Does that make sense? It's not like if we did two more things, we would have won the game. I don't know if you can say that.
No, you can't.
But I liked how they came out that third quarter and they put together that drive. I know it didn't result in points, but it was like, they're figuring stuff out. And seeing what they were able to do against that Canadian team at times I was like, man, if we can do that against this team, we're going to have a lot of success in district. and keep that in mind when we play next week or play this week.
I mean, that's the hope when you play a team like that. You play Carl Albert this week that's as good as anybody in Oklahoma, that when you do get into those district battles on the road at Clinton, here against Weatherford or whatever else might be, you are able to kind of take something from, hey, we've been on the field with at least, if not better team already. You know, and
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
this is old hat. That's the idea anyway. Now whether or not it works, we'll see. It did a year ago when those two games got kind of tight. That's that you can go back and learn with success or with failure. You can go back and kind of pull that back in the moment, and maybe you fix something that you messed up this time.
And I'm with Jeremy on the text line. Hope we keep them on the schedule.
Yeah,
We both kind of – I wish we would have asked Hunt that at halftime. Is this a series we'll see continue? But if not, I hope we find someone else as good. I like the scheduling like that.
Yeah, I don't think – I think
really
you can take Carl Albert off just because both teams, their district will go back to normal.
Uh-huh.
That's the whole point of that. The only reason that game's being played is because both lost a district opponent this week.
They needed a game.
And yes. And so, or I guess next week actually, first game of district, neither had an opponent after Western Heights and Guyman went away last year. So that's why that's happening. And I wouldn't imagine that one would continue. But I think there could be a decent shot that this one was, and
it could go back to Pampa.
8 of 11. Well, that's 8 of 11 years Elk City's played somebody from Texas, and the Pampa, and then of course this week, this last couple of years with Canadian as well. So that's something that has kind of become a little bit of a staple on the non-district schedule for Elk City. Over in Clinton, that score shocked me. Not that it was close, but what the score was. I did not see. I mean, Clinton historians, they're out there. Is that the most points anybody's ever put up in the Tornado Bowl against a Clinton defense? 50?
That's probably safe to say without looking it up.
There was a game. Oh, there was a game a few years back. I can actually look it up. But I think it was there was like a 70-something.
Well, there was
an Elk City game. Yeah, but I don't think they didn't get to 50.
It was a back and forth.
Yeah, it was. But I think it was only.
It was Texas Tech OU before that game happened. It felt like.
Yeah, but I still think it was only like 40-something to high 30s.
For the high school, it just seemed like they were just whipping it all over the yard. Both teams were. But yeah, I think. Well, listen. Well, to be honest with you, after seeing the offense that Clinton put out there against McGinnis, and they could not score, I thought they're going to have a very hard time scoring against Heritage Hall if that's all they can do against McGinnis, because I think Heritage Hall is better than McGinnis. And then they go and put up 45.
Yeah.
40 or 45? 43.
50 to 43, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here it's 44-36 was that year, back in 2015.
So I guess there's some storylines from that game. Is Heritage Hall's Bass took a hard hit, was out for most of the second quarter.
Yeah.
And there was question of he might have a concussion. He might not come back. I guess he did come back in the second half and became a shootout from there. Have you seen the video of Collins' run?
Mm-mm.
Sports Center-esque.
Yeah, Bass didn't play the second quarter. Was 15 to 20 for 365 and 5 touchdown passes. Ran it 4 times for 108 and 2 touchdown runs.
I got a message
7 total
from our Clinton guy that night. He said Bass is the real deal. It's the real deal.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But Collins had over 270 on the ground. He's had 2 big games and then kind of nowhere. Of course, when you don't score against McGinnis, nobody's going to have a very good night at all. But, that's kind of odd the way that's worked out. But they put up a heck of a fight and scored that many points.
So how do you walk – if you're Clinton, do you walk away encouraged because you took the number one team in 3A to the wire, or discouraged because you gave it 50?
Both.
I mean, is it in the same vein of how we approach Canadian? Like,
No.
you know,
No.
it's getting us ready for district, or how?
No, because
It's mixed emotions there, isn't it?
not to me, because here's my thing about there, and this is totally respect for what Clinton is. Clinton football does not have moral victories. They have wins or losses. You know what I'm saying? That program is way too proud and way too much tradition to me to even think of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know that they don't measure it, and I get what you're saying because of what maybe people expected coming in, especially coming off of the game the week before. But you know what? It happened last year too. You know, McGinnis kind of ran through Clinton at McGinnis, and then the next thing you know, they turned around and beat down Heritage Hall.
Yeah.
And so maybe we should have thought, kind of seen that coming a little bit
Maybe
more
they
than
match
what
up
we
better
did.
with
Yeah,
Heritage,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a better matchup for
But
them.
then, I mean, keep in mind, McGinnis 5A, Clinton 4A, Heritage Hall 3A, about to be 4A. But still, there's always that, I think, sometimes. Sometimes a larger class school might have a little bit more success against a smaller class.
And
But-
I would imagine both years, practice last week over there wasn't all that much fun. You know, coming off of those two McGinnis losses ahead of playing Heritage Hall, I bet it wasn't all that much fun.
Told that Collins was out against McGinnis.
That makes sense then.
That makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
why they couldn't really move the ball. I mean,
Well,
this kid might be really good.
You know, they got Hill had over 100 yards, and I think Hester was around 90, maybe 80, if I remember right. But that makes total sense because the dude has gone over 200 both times he's been on the field so far this year, and yeah, he's definitely. They've got they've got four of them that'll run it. You know, kind of a four-headed monster, but it sure seems like Collins is the kind of the head of the snake, if that makes sense. And then Weatherford, it seemed like they were behind every time we looked at that score on Friday night up at El Reno. What most people that have seen El Reno think, they're clearly improved from what we saw from scrimmage one year to scrimmage this year. But they come back and they win that game 28-26. Big win, I think, for Weatherford to be able to defeat a higher class team on the road and to come back and do it. And so that's more of the Weatherford team than I think everybody thought we were going to see coming into the season.
Yeah, now they got a tough one this week against Elgin. Coming to town, Elgin. We're who did they play? They the second year in 5A had some question about how that transition would be for the Owls, and so far so good. They had a successful year last year. I believe they made the playoffs.
Yeah, they did.
This year, beat Anadarko 76-0. Last week they beat Cache 55-6.
Yeah.
You talk about high octane offense and maybe a better defense. So that's gonna be a tough test for Weatherford. But that's a good win at El Reno.
No doubt.
We said, we saw those athletes in person. We in a kind of transition when they beat Chickasha, that kind of reaffirmed what we thought about El Reno. And I was really worried about Weatherford going over there to El Reno. It's a hostile place to play in, and they weathered it and got it. So good job, Eagles. Now they need a name for this. Eagles versus Owls, like the Feather Bowl or something. What do you call that? I think this one could be fun.
Yeah,
it could be fun.
Elgin's crazy because the last year they were in 4A1, you kind of looked and went,
what's happening to Elgin?
Doesn't look like a lot of future there either.
No.
And now, make the step up in class, immediately make the playoffs, and it looked like they're going to be right back there again this year. It's kind of weird how that worked out down there at Elgin. Hollis took their first loss down at Velma Alma. That was a game that they were able to win last year, 8-6. Not the case this time, 56-6. Velma Alma ends up putting it on the Hollis Tigers. And then what else? Carl Albert, the game of the biggest game of the state, number one in 5A versus number one in 6A2. They avenge a loss last year to Muskogee, 43-20. And of course, they'll be out here on Friday night. One of the more talented teams that's ever stepped foot on Big Elk Stadium's field will be this Friday. A monumental task, obviously, for the Big Elks. And then let me see. Did the Backyard Bowl end up? It did.
Oh,
Jinx beat Union 31-24.
Crazy.
It's just shocking the way that Jinx had looked to start and Union had looked to start, and that literally just tells you that
you never know.
You this is such a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. You can throw out the records when those two teams play.
Yeah, a lot of rivalries go that way.
College football this weekend. Oklahoma State goes out to the Arizona Desert, gets a win, 27-15 over the Sun Devils. They had to come back to do it, got behind early. It's just Oklahoma State's defense, I think, more of what you thought it was going to be going into the season this week, and the running game got going in the second half, and that makes the quarterback's job so much easier. But I was listening on the way in to the OSU practice report, and I'm exactly like what Spinozzi asked. Have you ever been in a situation where there's a clear quarterback battle going into the year, you see two games, and you're even more confused now than you were to start? I just don't. I don't know. I don't either. How long can this last? How long can the three quarterback rotation last?
Until they lose, and he has to settle. I don't know. Gundy's gonna keep leaning on if they keep winning. I know it's only been 2 games in this scenario, but if they keep winning and with rotating quarterbacks, he's going to be that smartest guy in the room attitude and go, see, this is working, but it can't last. You have to pick a guy.
I don't think there's any chance he wants to keep doing this. I just don't think he has.
No one's standing out for him.
Well, and no one, not even them. We talked about this on Friday. It's not even no one standing out for them. No one's standing out for the team either. The players haven't been shown who it should be yet by the play of one of those guys. And so, boy, it just seems like a total mess. But, this could be a lot like what we saw 2 years ago. They went to Boise, struggled around, got the win, and next thing you know, that catapults them into a team that's playing for the Big 12 title. And it was defense. And I think that's the one thing I think you could probably hang your hat on for an Oklahoma State fan is that defense is good. It's amazing and now how different that program feels than it did just a few years back. Going from all offense to no defense, and now it almost feels like it has completely flipped a 180 to where it's defense, and just enough offense to get it done. Mm-hmm. And to me, that it's from 2 places, the offensive line and the quarterback. Those things are lacking from what they were back in the Whedons and then all the way up to Mason Rudolph and the high-flying offenses. They could do both. They could run it, they could throw it, they could do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, basically on offense. And now it doesn't. It just seems like it's such a struggle, slogging around there.
Are we to expect more 9:30 games now that Arizona and Arizona State, BYU in the conference, Utah coming in the conference? Or can we expect more of that or maybe a little bit earlier? Because I could barely make it through that game.
I don't think there's going to be that many. I don't.
I hope not. I might be showing my age, but I'd prefer them a little earlier.
I don't think that's going to –
I'll be honest with you. You know what? You know how far I made it? When Arizona State converted that 2-point conversion and made it, 15-7 or something like that?
Yeah.
And I said, I can't do it. I could not stay. I said, I'll watch the highlights in the morning. It's so late. So
I don't think it's going to be a thing. Maybe one a year, but it's not like every game is going to be that way. It's just not going to, because you don't have. It's just not. I don't think.
I'm just wishfully talking it into existence that it's not a thing.
I don't think it's going to be a thing.
It needs to be more of a central thing for everybody, more convenient for everybody.
I think that's what it would be. In Norman, Oklahoma's offense not very good.
But on my final thought on that, though, the Arizonas might say, we want night games. It's cooler.
Yeah, that's true. No, it may be, but there's enough teams in the conference to where they can rotate. It doesn't have to be the same team every time. Yeah, somebody might be playing.
Right.
It's not going to be Oklahoma State every time.
Yeah.
In Norman, Oklahoma wins 28-11. Offense, not very good. It was clear that SMU was not going to let Oklahoma throw it just down the field, made everything short, made Oklahoma stay patient. 28 points. Fourth quarter, here, the one positive that I think that I glean out of Oklahoma's performance, I think they lose that game last year.
Yeah. They're watching, following that game. Couldn't watch it. I was at the fields, but following it on my phone and then seeing when SMU scored in the fourth, and I thought, here it comes again. Here comes that loss again in the fourth quarter. And you're right, and that's exactly what I thought was when they were able to respond, get a 3-and-out, get another score, pretty much ice it. And I thought, that's a game they lose last year. That is a game they lose last year. So that's the positive I'm taking away from it.
Yeah, immediately responded with a touchdown, then got a stop on fourth down. One guy that people wanted to see, and his recruiting rankings showed that he could make plays, and his play on the field is showing he can make plays, and that's Bowen. Peyton Bowen is a dude that you just flat out haven't seen roaming the secondary in Norman for a long, long time. The guy's
did he block the punt?
Yeah, he blocked the punt, and then he on the fourth down, he's the one that knocked the ball away.
Yeah, right.
There in the fourth quarter that led to the game clinching touchdown. That dude he's just a different cat, and that's the type of guys that you're going to have to see moving forward into the SEC. Or are you?
What do you mean?
I mean, who can't beat an SEC team? Everybody in the country is.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't.
Ask the ACC how good the SEC is. They'll go, well, let's see, what are we, 4 or 5-1? Not too tough so far. How about Texas? Obviously, team of the week, right?
Everybody's darling, yeah.
No, they were awesome.
That fourth quarter was great.
They were awesome. And here's the thing that you noticed about that team. They were not overmatched in the trenches.
No.
At all. Ewers was good.
He's making that next step. Not super, but he's doing what I expect him to do in year 2 in a starting role.
Mm-hmm. I know
it's 2 games, but he's in a hostile environment. That's what it reminded me of OU at Ohio State.
Yeah, see, it's funny you say Ohio State because I was thinking back to 2005, Texas going to Ohio State with Vince and then making the play at the end with Lima Swede and winning that game in the horseshoe and how that catapulted them clear to the national title. That's one of those types of games to me, and Texas was awesome. And listen, we all sit around here and you hear the preseason hype. They're back. Da 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 da. That's the best win by anybody so far.
It is week 2, but it is the best win.
Yes, and it's going to remain that way for a while.
Yeah, but we've seen these early games, week 1, week 2, where these marquee matchups like this one, Texas gets that win. Everyone's putting, whoa, they're contenders. They're good. They beat Alabama. Well, what if Alabama goes and loses to LSU? What if they go and lose a couple more?
I don't care.
People go, Alabama really wasn't that good in hindsight.
Well, it's
They're
Alabama.
Okay. It's still Alabama, though.
It's Alabama. Yeah. That's winning in Tuscaloosa. No one's done it.
Yeah, no one just walks in there and wins.
Non-conference, no one since Saban's first year. Louisiana Monroe. That's the last time they lost a non-conference game at home. That was 2007. I mean, listen, we can pick apart Alabama. Milroe is not a good quarterback. He's just not yet. But it's still winning in Tuscaloosa. Winning that game on Bryant-Denny Stadium, on that field. That's an incredible accomplishment. And Texas deserves all the kudos that they're going to be getting until they lose, probably. That's a hell of a win by Texas. It's something that they haven't done in a long time. A game that mattered to both. I mean, you can say the Georgia Sugar Bowl. Yeah, it was. There's always that built-in, well, they weren't going to play for the title. And This is the second game of the year in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Everybody's got everything to play for.
Yeah, nothing.
And they went down there and won.
Yeah, no excuses
flat
for Alabama.
Out looked like the better team.
Yeah.
And then Colorado, I really thought that was a bad spot for them.
I didn't.
And it took a while, but by the end of it, they just rolled up Nebraska. And so Colorado, they're kind of they're the second team of the week. And boy, I'm telling you right now, you're going to see them.
Oh yeah,
you're going to see them. They're game day heading there this week. Big noon kickoff was there. I mean, you're going to see Colorado.
Who do they got?
Colorado State. But that's the
They're
allure.
Going to that?
That's the allure of prime,
Is that
folks.
The best?
No,
Yeah,
it's not the best, but that doesn't make a damn. It's prime. It's Colorado and it's prime.
They're going to have like a mini game day set at every game, or
That's what you. And
hey, let's check in over there, and
you better
Boulder.
take advantage. The deal is you got to take advantage of it while it's still hot, because after this, it gets serious. Colorado State this week, then you go to Eugene, then you got SC, back-to-back weeks. So, ride the hot Colorado before they're 3-2.
See if there's any other options.
It doesn't. There
just
isn't.
But I'm saying, could they not have waited till one of those games?
No, because you got to catch them while they're hot.
They want to go to Boulder is what they want to do, and
Well,
they
yeah.
probably anticipating them losing at Oregon.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
That's why you got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yep.
Last thing, and this is going to be a subject that it's hard to talk about, maybe. What do you think about what happened after the game in Norman?
Man, you got to be, if you're an OU fan, you got to be careful what you say, or you will look like a hypocrite. If you defended Joe Mixon playing and being on that field.
And be invited back.
Right.
Hey, listen, nobody wants to hear this either. But are there a whole bunch of people that would let Barry Switzer walk on that field too?
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's in the same
I
vein. The only now here's my competitiveness coming out. I thought, wait a minute. What info is he getting on OU, and is he going to relay it to his son?
He lives in Italy.
Huh?
He lives in Italy.
Who Bryles does?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was doing. But phones don't work in Italy. His son's the OC at TCU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, is he a spy? Is it? But yeah, again, if you defended Joe Mixon, if you defended any transgressions that happened with past players and invited them back or coaches, then I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I get upset at cancel culture because I was raised on forgiveness. And I'm not defending Art Briles. Please let me be clear. But when do we, as human beings, just forgive? He's been through the ringer and done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
and here's another thing. No one really knows.
How much he knew.
Correct.
Yeah.
To this point, and I'm the same way. I'm not, but it's automatically assumed because of the way the story was reported initially down there that he was like Bud Kilmer in Varsity Blues and was the puppet master behind everything. As we've moved further away from that time, it appears a little bit more like he was the fall guy for the guys even above him that knew more about what was going on, but they tried to save their own skin, and who was the most visible person at Baylor at that time. It was Briles.
Right.
And that's not to defend him. That's just to say that, everybody there's a lot of nuance to all of this.
If I'm critical of Briles, I'm not, and I'm with you. I'm not saying that he knew, but I have an issue with, at the time was, you had no control of your program.
Oh yeah,
it was you have as a head coach, you're the guy that has to know the ins and outs of your program.
That's right.
And it appears he didn't. Now, what did he know? We don't know what he knew.
Here's what we do know: there was a bunch of bad dudes that he let play football at Baylor.
Yeah,
a bunch of bad dudes, and that is on him.
How come does we just talked about Florida a couple weeks ago? Urban Meyer had a bunch of bad dudes on his team.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get that treatment like Bryles does. If Urban Meyer shows up on any one sideline, are they freaking out and calling for firings? And
no,
you see what I'm saying?
I do, and it's just. It would have been, to me, it's one thing if you've got him down there hanging out with Toby throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what was happening.
He was with family.
Well, and he wasn't on the sideline during the game.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was after.
It'd be different if JR and him are hanging out right behind the coaches. Like you see during the game, like you see. This was completely after the game. Nobody would have even known it if Parker Thune wouldn't have taken a picture of him.
Yeah.
Now, and people are mad that he had on OU stuff, and we don't. Did he buy a ticket? Was he just with Lebby? All that. I have zero problem with what Lebby said after the game.
Which was
family. He's my family. Yep. He's the grandfather to my 2 kids.
No, I got no problem with that.
I don't have any problem with that part of it.
What Lebby can learn from this is you might want to run this stuff by your boss.
Well, here's the problem. I'm afraid they did. That's why everybody is up in arms on the OU side.
Venables did now?
I don't think Venables. I think Castiglione. I think they both. Some sort of, before he was hired, this is our expectation.
Yeah.
And if that was that he can't come down on the field, that's on Lebby. But at the same time, if it does it not, here's what it feels like to me. They were going to sweep it. No one was going to say a word about anything until the picture went viral.
Yeah.
And then it almost feels like they already had these statements prepared for when that was possibly going to happen.
Yeah.
But if my thing about it is this, if you're going to get this up in arms about a guy just walking down and talking to his son-in-law on the field, don't hire him in the first place.
That's true.
Don't hire him in the first place.
You knew the baggage you were getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely you did. And so if that's the reaction that's going to happen to, I mean, this is as innocuous as it gets, just coming down and hanging out after the game is over, then that maybe that hire shouldn't happen in the first place. If that's the way that, and if I'm Lebby, unless there is some sort of ironclad something he signed that we don't know about saying that this would never happen, I'm pretty pissed at the way it was handled outside after that game. And I can't, here in about an hour, he meets with the media. He and Ted Roof, like 11:30, I think is the time. And this is going to have more and more. And it feels like he's doubled down. Did you see the picture that he changed on Instagram?
No, I'm not on the gram.
Well, it's doubling down. I can tell you that. Wrapping it up on a Monday with some more happy news, Jared. Maybe we're not quite as dumb as some of our listeners thought we were.
Yeah.
After last night's beatdown of the New York Giants, are both picking Dallas to make it to the Super Bowl, looking a little bit better.
Well, tell you what, defense wins championships. Isn't that the saying everyone leans on?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they got a defense that is Super Bowl caliber. And I think they have an offense that is good enough to get there too. I'm not saying great, but I think they have a good enough offense to score. They got obviously a great defense to stop someone else from scoring. Yeah, they looked really good. Really good.
I think the secret, I mean, it's easy to say this now, but I've been saying it, is if you can play the style of game that allows Dak to only have to throw it 25 times instead of 35 or 40 times, Dallas is going to have a chance to win a whole bunch of games because that defense is stupid good. Now, the Giants, boy, felt sorry for Daniel Jones That poor guy had zero chance last night. It looked like the running of the bulls. Every time they snapped it, it's like he was in Pamplona and trying to get the heck out of the way.
Outside of that first drive that ended with the blocked field goal, he looked like he was – that first drive he was running with a purpose. That the rest was he was running for his life.
Yeah. It was just man, it was good. So here's the question. Another team that looked really good was the 49ers. And I may be wrong about Brock Purdy.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, his job is a lot easier than some of the others in the league just because of how good the offensive line is. He's got weapons galore. But I think the question that I guess I would ask, are Dallas and San Francisco that good? Or did we overrate the Giants and the Steelers coming in? Or is it just overreaction Monday because it's week 1 of the NFL season?
Absolutely, it's that. I'm not overreacting about Cincinnati losing. I think San Francisco is good. That's not a knock on Pittsburgh. I think San Francisco was just a better team. I think Brock Purdy, he did a lot of really, really good things, and but I'm more of a marathon guy with him. When the season goes longer and longer and longer, our defense going to have more tape on this guy and knowing how to defend him, make other guys around, and he got a lot of guys around him that could beat you too. But I don't think it didn't shock me to see those outcomes.
Just the way it went. Not that Dallas and San Francisco won those games, just how incompetent the other two teams looked against what they were doing.
Right.
That's what was kind of shocking to me. But Pittsburgh was a lot of people's kind of darling in the AFC for sure to make the playoffs and maybe even be in that running in that division. And they looked a long ways away from that.
I mean, Bears too, right?
I picked the Bears to win the NFC Central just because I didn't really know what to expect. Jordan Love was good. Detroit went into Kansas City and won, for goodness sakes. Minnesota, ouch. Here's the problem with Minnesota, and we're already seeing it. Week 1, you can't just win every single close game ever like they did a year ago. You just can't. And I'm sure that Jim's text line will be blowing up because of who beat Minnesota, and that Baker Mayfield was the quarterback of that team. He was okay. He made a heck of a run there at the end to get to first down that helped run time off the clock, but he was nothing special, 21-34. But what he did was he threw 2 touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over. Whereas Kirk Cousins had it knocked loose twice, 2 fumbles lost, and also threw a pick. That's the tail of that game. I mean, Minnesota should have won, but they turned it over and didn't win. You know what I mean? And that's the NFL. That's the one always equalizer is turnovers, and that's what happened to the Vikings. Anything else?
Philadelphia tried to do that. Tried to blow it more than once. They held on and won.
Boy, Cincinnati looked awful.
They did not look good.
I mean, it was in a rainstorm. I get it, but gosh, dang, man, Joe Burrow, highest paid player in the history of the game, 14-31 for 82 yards.
Give him a break. He was endorsing checks. His hand was cramping. Give him
I know
a break.
this.
He'll be ready next week.
Every time I've played against Jamar Chase in fantasy football, he scores about 25 points. I have him on my team, and he gets 8. It's a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Jamar and Joe.
I think the Broncos are still a mess. I think they're a mess. See how they started that game?
Onside kick.
I heard this earlier from Rex Ryan this morning, and it made a good point. What message are you sending your team if you're coming out on an onside kick to start the game? Hey, guys, we're not good enough, so we're going to start the season with a gimmick play.
See, I was going to say, let's just go out and roll. I don't mind it.
You don't mind it?
Let's be honest. An onside kick by that coach, surprise onside, won them a Super Bowl in New Orleans. If you remember that,
yeah, that's true.
Against Indianapolis, I think it's cool. But I also understand what Rex is saying about the psyche.
Yeah,
but when you just been getting beat down like they were a year ago,
you got to create mojo. I get
something.
it. I get it, but
And if their kicker could kick, they'd have won.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Will Lutz. So you can tell which ones are on my fantasy football team. Missed a field goal and missed an extra point. And you get beat by a point.
Speaking of kicking, Dallas will not have to miss that extra point. They're not going to have to worry about kicking a thing to score all those points.
He made the rest.
He did make the rest.
Jumped back
In
and
the
made the
rain,
rest.
mind you. So
Now, the NFL,
tonight should be fun, too.
It was pretty interesting because you know who's awesome?
Who's that?
If he just can play the whole year. Miami is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
How many yards did Tua rack up?
466.
Yeah, that is definition awesome.
466.
Yeah, that division's going to be really fun.
Really
fun.
The AFC West, the only game they won was with two teams from their division playing each other, with the Raiders and Broncos. Chiefs lost. Chargers lost. But, man, it's just – I don't know what you do with when you've got Waddle and when you've got, obviously, Tyreek Hill and Tua if he's back there. Whew. I mean, they can get it. And Brandon Staley should be at the top of the first coach fired list as far as the odds. That dude's – he ain't doing Justin Herbert or the Chargers any favors. That dude is a bad coach. A bad coach. Tonight, you excited about tonight?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of am too.
Yeah, a lot of storylines there. It's going to be cool. Kind of full circle here with the show. It's 9/11. They're playing in New York.
Yeah.
They had a cool thing last night at MetLife, pregame stuff and the hats they wore. So this one on 9/11 in New York, and teams two teams, obviously with the Jets and the Bills in that region on this night. But then, of course, you got Aaron Rodgers too in his debut. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I do too. I'm excited to see what the Jets do look like, what that defense can do against Josh Allen. The Bills do feel like the forgotten good team.
Yeah, no one's talking a lot about them.
And that's exactly opposite of last year. Going into the year, a lot of people had them winning everything. That team isn't much different, right? I mean, they're pretty good.
Yep,
they're pretty good.
You're just excited about the Manning cast.
I can't wait for the Manning cast. Who's it going to be? It's going to be McAfee.
That's what I think.
I noticed
that's
they had
safe
that.
bet.
They had that Saturday. A little McAfee cast.
Really? What game?
Yeah, Texas Bama.
Was it?
Oh yeah. Down on the sidelines, yucking it up with McConaughey.
Oh, all right.
All right. Everybody have a great Monday. Just try to stay dry.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.